The deep void of space was quiet. Stars blinked like cold eyes. Nothing moved for light years, until something strange happened. Captain Varan of the Tharnak Empire sat in his command chair aboard the explorer ship Virex. His crew, a mix of skilled, alien officers, had been scanning this sector for weeks. It was far from their home systems. Most believed this region was empty, just dead planets and silence. Then it came. "Captain," said the sensor officer, her voice tight. "We're picking up a signal. Very weak, old code, not Tharnak." Varan stood. "Play it." A short burst of static filled the room. Then, a low sound followed, a pattern. It was some kind of beacon repeating over and over. The signal was coming from the orbit of a Class 15 death world. The bridge grew quiet. "Class 15? A crew member whispered. "That's a kill zone. Radiation, storms, predators, and no one survives there." Varan narrowed his eyes. "Then why is there a ship floating above it and sending signals?" He gave the order. "Change course. Let's see what this ghost is." The Virex slowly approached the death world. The planet below was terrifying. Green storms twisted across the surface. Volcanoes exploded. The scanners showed high levels of radiation and massive life forms. Monsters, most likely. Nothing civilized could live there. And yet, just above the storm clouds, a small ship drifted in orbit. It spun slowly. No power. No lights. No life. Signs. The design was unfamiliar, but after a few moments the AI matched it to something ancient. "Human," the AI said flatly. "Ship class. Earth origin. 90 years old." Everyone on the bridge froze. Humans were a mystery to most of the galaxy. The Tharnak Empire believed they were weak, lost, or gone. There were old stories of humans trying to explore space, but no confirmed sightings in decades. "Could it be a trap?" asked the weapons officer. "Could be," Varan said. "But if that ship really came from the death world, and it's human, we need to know." The boarding team prepared in silence. 5 armored Tharnak soldiers entered the docking bay. Their suits were built to handle poison air, high radiation, and low gravity. As they moved into the ghost ship, their lights cut through thick dust. The halls were silent. Old Earth markings lined the walls. English writing, mostly warnings, ship names, and door codes. The smell inside was strange. Burned metal, old plastic, and something else. "Something like blood. Stay alert," said the team leader. They moved deeper into the ship. One hallway had scorch marks. Another had deep claw scratches across the walls. A storage room was open. Inside, they found broken armor and torn human uniforms. No bodies, just damage. Like something had happened fast and hard. Then they found the bridge. The control room was dark. The main screen was cracked. One console still glowed faintly. A Tharnak technician touched it and the ship reacted. A video began to play. It showed the ship's crew, humans, tired, dirty, but alive. Their captain spoke into the log. "We've left the surface," the human said. 3 years down there, lost 30 people. But we made it. We survived the storms. We fought the creatures. We built a camp, made weapons, learned the land. We called it hell. But it became home." The video glitched. Screams, blasts, a flash of something. Large and fast, rushing past the camera, then silence. The last image, a human soldier sitting near the window holding a gun, smiling. Back on the Virex, the crew watched in shock. "They survived?" one officer whispered. "No one survives a death world." Captain Varan didn't speak. His eyes were locked on the screen. "If humans live there," he finally said, "they are not what we thought. And if this ship is here, they wanted us to find it." He looked back at the dark planet below. What did they leave behind? The Tharnak boarding team stood still inside the human ship's control room. The screen in front of them had turned black again, but their minds were full of questions. The humans had stayed on a death world for 3 long years. That alone was impossible. No other race had ever returned from such a place. And yet, they had. One of the Tharnak soldiers slowly looked around the bridge. There were photos pinned on a wall. Human faces, smiling. A group of them sitting together, some holding mugs, others with tools. The photos were old and scratched, but they told a story. These people hadn't just landed on the death world, they had lived there. The boarding team continued deeper into the ship. In a side room, they found something unexpected. A map. It wasn't of space. It was hand-drawn, showing the surface of the death world below. Notes were written in the corners. Safe zone here. Metal cave. Don't go near Red Valley. They even named parts of the planet. One area was called the Wall. Another was labeled Storm Nest. The humans had mapped the world like explorers. This wasn't survival. This was exploration. Maybe even a mission. But for what? Suddenly, the lights in the ship flickered. For a moment, soft humming filled the hallway, then silence again. The Tharnak team looked at each other. One tapped the wall with his scanner. No power. It's not coming from us. Back on the Virex, Captain Varan received the update. He was watching the ship from above, thinking deeply. The death world below spun slowly, like a giant warning sign in space. Varan turned to his science officer. Could humans really last there? Could they change? Adapt? The officer nodded slowly. It's possible. The data from the ship's logs show major changes to their heart rate, temperature control, even reaction time. They became faster, stronger, smarter. They didn't just survive, Varan said. They evolved. He stared at the screen again. Meanwhile, the boarding team found the sleeping area. Human beds, small and simple. One bed had a child's toy beside it, a tiny figure of a dog. Another had a handmade calendar, 3 years marked in careful lines. The final date had a note. We leave tomorrow. So they had planned this. They didn't escape by luck. They escaped with purpose. Then, one of the Tharnak crew found something unexpected. It was a human helmet, still active. When he touched the side, a voice played. If you're hearing this, the voice said, calm and firm, then we are gone. We left this ship as a record. We want you to know, Earth didn't send us. We came by choice. We were curious. We wanted to test ourselves. And now, we're ready for the next step. The recording ended. The Tharnak soldier lowered the helmet. Captain, they weren't running from anything. They were going toward something. Varan heard the message on the bridge. He was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke to his crew. Do you know what this means? He said. While we feared that world, while we stayed safe behind walls and rules, they went in. He leaned forward, and they came out. His crew said nothing. There was no argument. The truth was clear. The humans had done what no other race dared. They had gone into the galaxy's most dangerous world and claimed it as their own. The Virex hovered silently in orbit, watching the old human ship like it was a puzzle waiting to be solved. Captain Varan stared at the data streaming across his screen. Numbers, wave patterns, energy scans. But none of them answered the biggest question. Where did the humans go, and why did they leave the ship behind? The science officer walked over, holding a new report. Captain, we've discovered something else. A hidden file in the ship's memory. It wasn't on the main logs. It took our AI a long time to find. Varan nodded. Show me. The screen flickered, then displayed a list. Not names, not locations, it was instructions. Step by step, written in basic English, it described how to build a machine, one that could survive the storms of the death world. Another list explained how to filter the air, make shelter, and even grow food in the toxic soil. It was a survival guide, but it didn't stop there. At the end of the file, there was one line. If you find this, we left the planet because we were ready to go further. The words echoed in Varan's mind. not just ready to survive, but ready to explore beyond even the hardest world known to the galaxy. Down on the ghost ship, the boarding team explored the last section, the cargo bay. It was strange. Most of the crates were empty. A few had broken equipment, old tools, and thick books with faded covers. But one corner held something very different. There was a large metal container sealed tightly. The surface had symbols carved into it, human letters but placed in patterns no one recognized. One of the Tharnak crew touched it gently. The surface lit up, lines glowing a soft blue. A quiet hum started. The science officer's voice came over the radio. Whatever that is, we've never seen this kind of energy pattern before. It's stable but advanced, far beyond what Earth was supposed to have. Varan leaned forward. Can we open it? Not yet. It has layers of protection, maybe even a signal lock. But Captain, this wasn't just a supply box. It's something else. What do you mean? It's meant to be found. The Tharnak crew returned to the Virex, leaving the ghost ship floating in orbit. Varan ordered the container brought aboard, but placed in a sealed chamber with extra scans. As the scientists worked, strange things began to happen. One crew member reported hearing a faint rhythm, like a heartbeat, coming from the container room. Another said she felt a pull, a strange feeling, as if the object wanted to be touched. At first, Varan thought it was stress. Long hours in space, too many questions with no answers. But the feeling grew stronger. The AI began detecting boo signals barely noticeable coming from inside the container. They weren't random. They were trying to match the ship's systems. And then it happened. The container lit up again, brighter this time. It projected a symbol into the room, spinning gently in the air. The shape was not from any known language, but the AI finally matched it to an ancient Earth code. Welcome, you're ready to learn. Varan stood before the glowing symbol, his thoughts racing. The humans hadn't just explored the death world. They hadn't just survived it. They had discovered something bigger, and they wanted someone to find it. But who? He called his top officers to the bridge. We need to consider the possibility that humans have changed, he said quietly. They may not be like us anymore. They may not be like anyone. He looked back at the symbol, and I think this was left as a message, not just for us, but for the galaxy. The symbol floated above the container like it was alive. No one spoke. Even the AI paused before speaking again. The pattern continues. The container is sending us more. Captain Varan stepped closer to the display. More what? The symbol spun slowly and then new shapes appeared, lines and circles moving in careful order. It looked like a map, but not of any star system the Virex had visited. The coordinates were unknown. Some even reached beyond the edge of mapped space. The science officer stared at the data. Captain, this is a path, a route. A route to what? Varan asked, narrowing his eyes. The AI answered. Possibly a location the humans traveled to after they left the death world. For the first time, the room felt colder, far away, in the hidden corner of the Virex's science lab. The sealed container did something new. Without warning, it began to hum, soft at first, then slightly louder. Not in a threatening way, more like it was waking up. Lights ran across its surface in a flowing rhythm. A screen lit up next to it. Words appeared in human language. If you have made it here, then you're ready to understand. Below the words, an image faded in. A picture of the human crew, all of them smiling. But this time they were standing not in front of the death world, but on a new world. The sky was light blue. The trees were tall and silver. The ground sparkled faintly. It was not Earth, it was not the death world, it was somewhere else, and the humans looked changed, not in a scary way, but clearer, healthier, stronger, like they had grown into something new. On the bridge, Captain Varan paced slowly. So they didn't just survive, he said aloud. They discovered something else. Somewhere else. The AI spoke again. Captain, the path in the data leads toward a zone we have never entered. There are no travel logs, no signals, no history. Because no one ever came back from there, Voran replied. His second officer nodded. That space is considered unreachable. No jump gates, no support. Voran turned toward the container's message. Then why did the humans go there? What did they find? The lights on the container pulsed again. A new message appeared. This is not the end. This is the beginning. The test was the world. The reward is beyond it. Later that day, the crew gathered in the observation deck. They watched the death world spin far below. The same world that had ended the journeys of hundreds of explorers, a place so deadly that most ships turned away without even entering orbit. And yet one human ship had gone down and come back up. But now, the bigger question was, what came next? The science officer tapped her pad. The data we've collected, energy, readings, atmospheric changes, even small vibrations, it all suggests this world changed after the humans arrived. Voran looked surprised. You're saying the humans didn't just adapt to the world adapted to them? Yes, Captain. It's possible. Something responded to their presence, or perhaps something woke up when they arrived. Back in the sealed chamber, the container displayed one final message for the day. This ship was only the first door. If you understand, follow the light. If not, turn back. There is no shame in fear, but there is no future in it either. Voran stood in silence for a long time after reading that. Then he turned to his crew. Prepare the ship, he said quietly. We're going to follow their path. The Virex moved quietly through the dark stretches of space, heading toward the unknown coordinates. Captain Voran stood at the helm, watching the stars blur as they traveled at faster than light speed. His thoughts were heavy, full of questions that no one on the crew had answers to. What had the humans found out there? And what had happened to them? The data they'd gathered from the human ship was clear. The humans had evolved in some way, adapted to the death world and beyond. But why had they left? Why had they chosen to journey further into the depths of space? The answers were just beyond their reach. The crew worked quietly around him. The hum of the ship's engines was a constant presence. But even the sound seemed muted, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. Captain, we're approaching. The coordinates, the navigation officer called out. Voran nodded, his heart racing. They were close now. The unknown was within their grasp. The very edge of the galaxy, a place no one had dared to go. Back in the lab, the sealed container continued to pulse softly, like a heartbeat, in rhythm with the ship's engines. No one understood why, but the crew had started to feel a strange connection to it. It was as if the container was guiding them. The science officer walked up to the container again, staring at the glowing symbols that floated in the air. She had been working on it for hours, trying to decode the messages, but it was like nothing they'd ever encountered. The energy field around it was different, almost alive, reacting to every touch. Captain, she said, her voice tense. There's something in here we're not seeing. The energy patterns, they're changing, almost like it's adapting to us. Voran's eyes narrowed. Adapting? How? I don't know, she replied, shaking her head. But whatever it is, it's communicating, not with words but with energy. We're missing something important. Voran turned toward the viewport. The stars outside seemed to shift slightly, as if they were guiding him, pulling him forward. What if the humans didn't just learn from the death world? What if they learned how to unlock something even more powerful? The science officer paused. Unlock what? He didn't answer. He didn't have an answer. But he felt it deep inside him. The humans had gone further than anyone else. They had discovered something no one else could even dream of. And they were about to find out what it was. The next few hours were tense. The ship's systems hummed with activity, and everyone on board knew they were about to reach something extraordinary. The unknown coordinates on their map came closer, and with every passing moment the mystery deepened. The AI spoke again. Captain, the area is unstable. The coordinates are located in an uncharted region of space. There are no records of any missions here. Varan glanced at the screen. The space ahead was empty, vast, and silent, but something didn't feel empty. It felt alive. "Slow down," he ordered. "We don't know what we're dealing with yet." The ship's speed reduced. The stars outside seemed to warp and twist in strange patterns. It was like they were entering a different dimension, one where the laws of physics themselves weren't quite the same. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the ship was still. The stars outside froze in place and everything was silent. "We've arrived," Varan whispered to himself. But nothing was visible. No planets, no stars. Just an empty void that stretched on forever. Except there was something. A tiny, almost imperceptible shimmer in the air. The science officer stared at it. "Captain, do you see that?" Varan squinted. "What is it?" "It's hard to describe," she said, her voice shaky. "But it's like the space itself is vibrating. Like there's a doorway here, hidden in plain sight." Varan stood still for a moment. A doorway? Could this be what the humans had found? Had they discovered a way to travel beyond the known universe? Had they unlocked something that no one else had ever dreamed of? The container on board the ship pulsed again. This time, the symbol on the screen shifted. It no longer read in English. The letters transformed into a new pattern, one the AI had never seen before. It was like a key turning in a lock. The door had been unlocked. "Prepare for immediate jump," Varan ordered, his voice steady but filled with anticipation. "We're going through." As the crew prepared for whatever was on the other side of that shimmering doorway, a strange, unsettling calm settled over the ship. Every member of the crew felt it, an overwhelming sense of both awe and uncertainty. What awaited them beyond this point? The shimmering doorway before them pulsed one last time, then vanished, leaving only the vast emptiness of space. For a moment, no one spoke. The silence was overwhelming, broken only by the soft hum of the Virex's engines. Captain Varan stood at the helm, eyes fixed on the empty void ahead. "What just happened?" he muttered to himself. His science officer looked up from the screen. "Captain, the doorway. It's not gone. It's moving, but I can't track it." The stars outside the viewport flickered, shifting, as if the space itself was bending and twisting in unnatural ways. The AI's voice came through, calm but with an edge of uncertainty. "We've entered an anomaly. The laws of space-time are fluctuating." Varan's heart raced. This was unlike anything he'd ever seen. The Virex was no longer in the universe they knew. They had crossed into something beyond comprehension, a place where reality itself didn't behave as expected. The crew braced themselves as the ship rocked gently, as though riding a wave of invisible energy. Suddenly, the stars outside the viewport shifted again. This time they weren't just flickering, they were rearranging. The ship's AI couldn't explain it. "Captain, I am detecting structures. Large, impossible structures. They're appearing in the void." Varan's gaze hardened. "What kind of structures?" "They're not like anything we've seen before. They don't fit the laws of geometry. Some of them are made of energy, not matter. Others appear to be shifting in and out of existence." The entire crew stared at the viewports. Impossible structures loomed, slowly coming into focus. They were enormous, made of glowing, iridescent materials that twisted and pulsed with energy. Some looked like massive spheres, others like spirals. All of them were connected by beams of light that pulsed with a rhythm of their own. The structures were alive. In a way, nothing the crew had ever seen was alive. One by one, the crew began to whisper. "Where are we?" someone asked. "What are those?" another voice replied. Varan stood still, his eyes narrowing as he watched the impossible city of light and energy slowly take shape. This was it. The place they had been led to. The place the humans had discovered. The Virex drifted closer, its engines powered down to a low hum. Varan ordered the crew to prepare for landing, but the ship didn't respond. It was as if the Energy around them was interfering with their systems. "We can't land," the navigation officer said. "The gravity is unlike anything we've studied. It's almost like the ship is floating, but not on any surface." Suddenly, the largest structure in the distance flared brightly, sending out a pulse of energy. The ship's hull vibrated, as if responding to it, almost as if the ship itself recognized the pulse. The AI spoke again, its voice slightly shaky. "Captain, I am detecting a signal. It's familiar, but also foreign. It's the same energy pattern we saw on the human ship." Varan's mind raced. The humans had left this place. They had passed through this very space. And somehow they had changed. They had unlocked something that had made them different, more than human. And now, the Virex had followed them here. "Is this where they went?" Varan asked aloud. The AI answered, "It is possible, Captain, but this place is not like the Death World. It's beyond anything we have encountered. It may be a place where the rules of the universe itself change." The crew stared at the shifting structures, each more baffling and mesmerizing than the last. They had come this far, but what lay ahead could be even more unknown. A flash of light from the nearest structure caught their attention. A door, or something like it, opened in the side of one of the glowing spheres. A beam of light shot out, connecting directly to the Virex. It was a signal, a message. The science officer spoke, her voice trembling slightly. "Captain, this might be a communication. The humans might have left something for us." Varan's chest tightened. This was it. They had crossed into a new reality, a place where the humans had gone and changed everything. But was it a gift or a warning? The beam of light grew brighter, stronger, pulling the ship closer. It was as if the ship was being drawn into the heart of this new world. Something was waiting for them, something that might hold the answers they had been seeking. But the question remained, would they be ready for what they would find? The crew gathered in silence as the Virex drifted closer to the heart of the glowing structure. Every eye was on the screen, every heart beating faster with anticipation. What would they discover when they crossed this threshold? Would they become something more, like the humans had? Or would they find something they were not ready for?